Let's speak now to Laura Blumenfeld, a Middle East analyst and former senior policy advisor on the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. Thanks very much to you for joining us. And just seeing some of the quotes that are coming through just in the last few minutes just shows how complicated this is. We've got President Biden saying we're not there yet, but we are closer than we've ever been. And I've just seen a Reuters report saying, quoting a Hamas official, a senior Hamas official speaking to Reuters, saying, quoted saying, the U.S. administration is trying to create a false atmosphere. What is your analysis of where these talks are at the moment?
Well, if you're asking me for a headline, I would say the question is the U.S., Qatari, Egyptian bridging proposal a bridge too far? And you're right to be concerned because, as I learned working at the State Department under President Obama on the Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team, the devil is in the details. So we can breathe easy over the weekend. I hope, fingers crossed, that there'll be no retaliatory strike. But we are going to be on edge at least until next week when those lower level teams are hammering out the details. The principal negotiators are going to reconvene next week, and that's when we'll really have an answer.
And do you have an understanding of what those gaps were that they say this new statement closes those remaining gaps? Do you know what they were?
Well, look, there's a lot of secrecy surrounding it. Some of them are kind of obvious, which is whether Hamas can rearm. The Israelis are saying they need to control the Philadelphia corridor, which is the southern border of Gaza, along the lines with Egypt, so that they don't have to fight this fight again in a year, in 3 years, in 4 years. They want it to be kind of one and done. Hamas is asking for a permanent ceasefire. Israel is interested more in a pause. I say it's all language because, they're at permanent war, these two parties. And so a real ceasefire is not even realistic, a permanent peace.
Well, and there's a conflict at the top of the Israeli government, isn't there, in terms of you have these disagreements within the team at the top. We've had Yoav Gallant, the defence minister, saying certain things about criticising this aim of total victory as being nonsense, and then Benjamin Netanyahu saying that is what he's after, total victory. It's so complicated, isn't it, in terms of that side of things, the political situation at the top in Israel?
Well, nothing quite focuses the mind like a gun at your head. And a gun is at Netanyahu's head right now. The only way that Iran and Hezbollah can save face, right? The Western nations have said to them, stand down in terms of retaliation for those twin assassinations. The only way, though, that they can save face is if they can say they forced Netanyahu's hand and there's now a ceasefire. I have confidence. I guess what gives me hope is actually the people of the region. Israel, as you all know, is a raucous democracy. It's, from the right to the left. They don't hold out their opinions. They were standing there with megaphones as the party negotiating team departed for Doha, saying, don't come home unless you bring the hostages. The same can be said of the Lebanese people. They can still taste the dust from the rubble of 2006 when Israel went to war with Hezbollah. They don't want to see their economy and their infrastructure decimated. And in Iran, they just elected what they consider to be a moderate president who is interested in improving relations with the West. So if they're listening to their people across the region, we'll get that ceasefire.
But do you think, though, that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to accept this deal? I mean, do you think that influence will work?
Well, watch the meeting on Monday with Secretary Blinken. Our defense secretary, Austin, has been in close contact with Gallant. We know that that's a very smooth working relationship. It's been harder for Secretary Blinken. He's got to navigate the internal politics. Let's see the looks on their faces when they come out of the meeting on Monday. And don't forget that the Democratic National Convention is also starting on Monday. There's a lot of pressure on this administration and to bring it to a peaceful conclusion. Part of it is, electoral politics. It's an ugly kind of optics for there to be people demonstrating outside of their own convention from their own actual supporters.
Yeah, OK. Thank you so much for talking to us. I really appreciate your time. That's Laura Blumenfeld, the Middle East analyst. Thank you.